let's go and now start finally using our Budo tool and run our code locally and get a preview in the browser. So what do we need to do? We first open our package.json and check what did we say, where will the main code run? It will run in source/index.js. So we have to create a new folder called source, src. And then inside of this folder, we will create a new file called index.js. And this index.js, it's actually code for our input integer / slider component. So let's make it look like a component usually looks. So we start every component with module exports and the name of the function. So input integer. You could use underscore or just like a camel case altogether. And then we define a function, input integer. So this is how the function looks. It has a name function, the name, the open and close parentheses, and curly braces, open and closed. And inside we will say const name equals input integer, and then we will return the name. So this is what our function does. It creates a string called input integer and then returns it. Okay, so now let's create a demo where we will try out our component and see if it works properly. So let's make in the root another folder called demo. And inside of this demo, let's make a file demo.js. And this demo.js will require our component, our integer component. So let's say const input integer equals require. And because we are requiring from our local project, we cannot just say require the input integer name and it will pull it from npm because we didn't publish it there yet. So we have to say require it locally. So ... which means that from the demo folder, it will go one level up and then search for package.json, and inside of package.json, find the path to the main. And then from there, it will basically load the code. So this is what this ... does. And now we will say const x equals input integer. And we basically run this function. And when we run the function, it returns us the name. So this, what it gets returned here, is stored in the variable called x. And now we can use this by saying document body inner HTML equals x. So all the HTML on that page will be replaced with whatever is stored in this x. And what is stored in this x is basically what the input integer module returns. And what does it return? It returns the name that we defined here, which is input integer. Okay, so we set this up, and now we just have to go to package.json and add a new command here. So the command is called start. And what will it do? It will go and run Budo with the file demo/demo.js and then bundle.js. Oops. We'll explain what this is, bundle.js. And then we'll also say live and open, so that it live reloads when we're working on it, and that it also automatically, when we run the command, opens the file, opens the page basically in the browser. Okay, so what exactly is a bundle? Bundle basically goes and checks the code in our component stores this code, but also checks if we have any dependencies. And if we have any dependencies, it takes the code of our dependencies and also checks if these dependencies have sub-dependencies, and then takes the code from there. And all of the code that is needed to run the project, it just bundles it all together in a file called bundle.js. So we need to tell index.html that this is what it should run. So we have to add a little script tag here, /script, and tell it that the source is bundle.js. So also don't make a mistake like me. So source is bundle.js. Okay. And then we check if we have everything correct. So we have our input integer component that returns a string, and we have demo that is requiring this component, and whatever the component returns, it stores in a variable x, and then it sets document body inner HTML2. We have to make a little HTML here. So h1, and inside of this h1, we have a piece of JavaScript. So we have to wrap this variable x that we're going to load into dollar open curly brace and closed curly brace. And then we put x inside. And this is going to take this variable x and put it and make it as a h1 tag in HTML, so as a title. So let's see if this works. To run the code, we now have this new command, start, which will run Budo, and Budo will open in the new tab. And when we do some changes, it will also live reload. So let's see if it works. npm start. So yes, it opens, it checks what is in our input integer, and what is returned, it also loads it here. So if we go and change and say that inside of input integer, that our name is foobar, and save, poof, it also auto reloads. So if we change this name, then the x will now be foobar, and this is what it will append to the body. Okay, we have everything running now, so let's do one more step before we push the code to GitHub. When we are locally running Budo, Budo creates bundle.js on the go, but doesn't save it inside of our project. But in order to push code to GitHub and make it visible also as a GitHub page, as a GitHub preview, we need to create bundle.js. So we will need another tool, and we will add the command here to package.json. Command is called build, and this build will run Browserify, which will take demo.js code and saves this and bundle it into bundle.js. So we need also Browserify, which is a module that we will require the same as Budo. So npm install Browserify --save -dev. We save it as a dev dependency. Okay, we have it, and now we can run npm run build. So with this, we will get here in our file and folder structure a new file called bundle.js. So now we're ready to push everything to GitHub. So let's do this. So git add everything, git commit. So what did we do? We added bundle.js logic, and we push to GitHub. So now if we go to our repository and open the preview, it's still showing hello world because GitHub, of course, doesn't update so fast. But in a couple of seconds, we will be able to see what we saved the last. It's foobar. So we didn't change it back to the input integer. So let's see. We can also right click and then clear the cache and all the site data. Sometimes this helps. Do it, GitHub, you can do it. Yes, finally. So this is it. So the next time we can literally continue working only on this input integer component. Everything is set up. We know how to create bundle.js. We know how to run and live reload the code. So we can literally just play it with whatever will be here inside of this function.